We're back with some more comic pages. We are working on volume 2 of my comic. Welcome. Thanks for joining. And this is page 7. So we're just finishing up page 7 of my comic. 7 out of 90. I've got a lot of pages to work on. So yeah, I'm basically I am in for it when it comes to getting this book done, but we're gonna keep going. So let's just get we gotta set up our tools here, and then we're gonna be working on essentially adding some more detail to the background. There's no shading down on the ground here, so we're gonna take care of that. And we're also, it says sign in the chat. Oop. Hang on. All right, there we go. The usual craziness here. Okay, so let's get to it. We're gonna actually be sampling a couple of previous pages too. So this is page 5 here, which is fully colored, and page 6. So I realize I do need to pull up one more page. So let's see if we can get that here for us to reference. So I'm trying to keep the colors consistent across every page, but you know, makes sense. So let's just make sure. So we can use the dropper tool for that. To basically say like, hey, like I need to sample colors from this page. So this is actually our live thumbnail. So let's see what we got here. Oh, it's gonna be everybody. So it doesn't even, let's grab this yellow. And then we're gonna add a layer for glowing. And then we'll come back to the background here. That's kind of a, it's kind of a whatever kind of detail. So we're adding glowing effect on this robot here. So we'll set this layer for add glow, and then we can just use a regular brush. Just kind of draw right on top. To add that lighting effect. So after I apply that, I will usually I'll usually add just a little bit of blur. So we'll use the blur tool. Make sure it's set to blur. And we don't want it too big, we just want to get the edges of this. And if we just blur the edges, now we get, you know, a nice strong lighting effect without really losing the color or shape. And it's that simple. So now we just need to do that a couple more times. All right, so we have the red that we used here. We grab the right part of it. It's actually interesting. So the add glow effect, you'd think you'd be using darker colors or lighter colors for this, but you can actually get away with pretty dark ones because it kind of automatically creates this this glowing effect. So there's our other one. We're actually gonna add the effect here too. And then we'll blur this as well. It's a slightly bigger tool here. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. I was in Pittsburgh for my last convention of the year, Steel City Con, which, you know, has been a staple, has been something that I've done every year for the last 11 years, believe it or not. And it's a nice show. I do have some feelings about the direction it's going in. It seems to be becoming more of a celebrity event and less of an event for artists like me. And that kind of stinks. But you know, the people running it, they got to do what they got to do for their business. And so do I. So we are giving it one more shot next year. And it's not, I should clarify too. It wasn't a bad show for us. It was a good show. Like, we made money. Could I have made more somewhere else? Probably. But we were in a new location, so that's a factor. Also, there was another major Comic-Con happening pretty close to where we were. And that was GalaxyCon, same time. So things like that can really, let me just correct something here. Things like that can really have an effect on your attendance, like how many people actually show up to your event. If you're competing on the same weekend, yeah, that's a tough situation. Through no fault of their own. Like, they don't, I doubt that they're scheduling events at the same time as other shows intentionally. It's just kind of how things happen. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out while we do some work on these pages. We're saying welcome to TikTok and YouTube. There we go. Okay. So now we can grab another color here. We need a bright yellow for this one. And we'll just sample our previous page again. And then brush it right in. And that's the wrong layer. Hang on. Yes, beware when you're coloring in Clip Studio. Label your layers. Label your layers. I say that from experience. I have done entire pages wrong because I layered the didn't label my layers. Couldn't tell where I was working, and the next thing you know, I've done a whole bunch of coloring in the wrong spot. Where the heck is his halo? Oh no. Oh, we gotta fix this. Okay. So we messed up. This isn't the actual drawing, so this is a physical drawing. I forgot to add his halo. So this robot, he has no wings either. Oh, dude, I'm glad I caught this. So he's supposed to have a halo and wings. It's like, they're just holographic. It's like part of his like marketing design. This robot's funded by like an actual company. So what we're gonna do is add a new layer. We'll set it for overlay. And then we're just gonna kind of, hang on a second. We're gonna draw this missing element right into the page. And maybe overlay's not the right. Let me see what else we got here. Vivid light will work. Okay. So in Clip Studio, the setting for this layer is now vivid light. Basically lets me draw right on top of the illustration. And we are using white. This is almost like doing graffiti on my own work. It's pretty funny. Okay. Alright, so we don't have to get super detailed with this, but we do want to make sure the edge of it does not overlap with the line art. So we'll just erase around the edges here. Don't have to be super exact because we're putting a glow effect on top of this, which hopefully works. I've never done this before. Usually when I do corrections, it'll be physical, like I'll go back to the physical page, but this is a minor detail, so let's see what happens when we do this. Alright, looks like it'll work fine. So this is a good example of why it's so important to keep your character designs in front of you while you work. If I hadn't caught this and published it, people would have been like, what's going on with this character? Like, he has them, he doesn't have them. It's a small detail, but details are what make the comics work. It allows the reader to be immersed. So now we can add our blur effect. Man, that looks cool. If I do say so myself, I think it looks pretty cool. Alright, then we'll do another round of erasing. Just on the edge here. You want to keep it looking sharp. You know, I'm thinking about it now. I may have realized that I did this earlier and kind of planned for it. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, we caught it, so that's the important thing. Alright, we got D.S.R back here. And we're just going to switch back to our brush tool and hang on. Sample color wasn't right. Drop a little bit of red there. And then there's a blue It's a nice bright fluorescent blue that we have for his eye camera. Oh, and the spot on his chest too. I think D.S.R is my favorite racing mech design from this scene of the comic. It's kind of reminiscent of, well, like the name implies, it's reminiscent of like construction equipment. That's how our page is coming along. I am gonna once we're done coloring, I always go back and we'll adjust the saturation and brightness to something that's more appropriate. But for now, we always just kind of push through, and then the adjustments come after all the color is in place. Okay, got that. And we'll sample this blue as well. Okay. Actually, 8-Ball, like this design here too, I really like this one as well. So I did share artwork from a previous page at the last Comic-Con, and people were kind of asking some potential like spoiler questions without realizing it. Asking like, you know, are we going to see these suits more in the future, these racing suits? And I can't really answer that question because it's kind of part of the plot. It's kind of important to the plot of the book. But yeah, things happen. You know, this comic is about rescue workers in space, and also the unusual anomalies that are occurring in this part of space. So yeah, my book requires some disasters, and yeah, let's do that. All right, so we're just gonna erase. If you can put 2 and 2 together, you can kind of figure out whether or not we're gonna see these guys again. All right. So that's our shading layer. There's our flat color layer. Honestly, that looks really cool. The black and white with the glowing effect. Anyways. So we do need to let's make some adjustments here. Particularly to our shading layer. So right now it's pretty much just black and white. We're gonna do a tone adjustment. So I like to do this just to color balance. We're gonna change the color balance. So we'll push it more towards a bluish kind of tone. So let's say there. Let's see how that looks with the color on top of it. Okay, that looks a little bit more natural. Or metallic. I guess the effect we're going for is a metallic look. So our background here, before we get to that, let's do one more effect. And that is the overlay effect. So this is how we get our ambient lighting. And we're going to go back to this guy here, and we'll actually sample the color of his glowing eye there. And then we'll take a brush tool. So right now we're set on this layer for overlay. It actually adds the color on top of your other artwork without covering the lines, which is really important. And you can see how it kind of blends with whatever we draw on top of. But now we're getting that kind of ambient light effect. Alright, we can do the same here. We'll grab the red and just kind of spread it around a little bit. So the little details will really, they do add up and make a difference to every piece of artwork. And we can put some here. And right there as well. So this is an effect I didn't really make use of in my previous book, mainly because I didn't know it existed. And I would try. I would try to manually do this, like add color to the actual coloring layer. But overlay is a really good option because it keeps things simple. It does the blending work for you. All right, got this guy here. Sample the right color. Seems really dark. Hang on. Oh, I guess that's what I used. All right. I like that better. And we can use a little bit of blurring effect too to soften up these lines. Using the biggest tool possible here. Hang on. To give things a little bit of a more faded, like natural looking edge. Okay. Then we have our intense gold here. And we'll grab from there and give it just a little bit more ambiance. We're not too worried about doing like straight edges on this because we're going to be using the blur effect here as well. And we'll just soften it up just a little bit. And so for those of you wondering why this book's taking so long, you're seeing it like right now. It's not fast. It's not a fast process. Yeah, making these does take time, and you know, unfortunately for me, like there's been a lot of things that happened this year that kind of like took away that time. But you're wondering if I'm still serious about this. So as I was saying earlier, we were at Comic-Con this past weekend, and for the first time in a long time, my commissions were closed. So right now the focus is getting this book done and nothing else. So hopefully over this winter, I'll be able to get through these pages, kind of wrap things up, and take this book to print because it is so overdue. I'm dying to see it finished personally. It is a fantastic script. A lot of fun stuff happens in this story that is, I'm sure, gonna like make a lot of fans happy. Fans of the characters, fans of the universe. They will not be disappointed with this one. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting this one done. And then, of course, you know, I'm gonna go right into working on Volume 3, which I do have loosely planned out. But all right, let's get down into our shading area. All right, so that's that part of the background. We can kind of mess around with the density of that to make it a little bit. This is a really bright page. It's not really what I was envisioning when I did it, but we can adjust the colors as we were saying before, so we can make sure that it's the colors end up more appropriate after we've applied them. But right now we need to find, okay, there's that layer. And then we have, okay, so we're gonna add one in between. Set it to multiply, and then we're gonna do some shading. So we're using a tone of gray, and we're just gonna start filling in a couple spots. So you guys are probably noticing too, there's like a ton of speed lines on this page. We're gonna be hopefully using the overlay feature to kind of draw right into the coloring of this page to kind of unify the image. So sometimes your digital color can feel like a separate component from the artwork, And we don't want that. We want this to look unified. And so sometimes drawing over your own stuff digitally will help with that. So we're just kind of improvising a little bit. And we're going to do a drop shadow here. So I'm basically just going to mimic the shape of that claw, but just offset it just a little bit. So now it has that feeling of being like just above the ground. And, you know, like more part of the actual scene. You know, as we were saying before, that is the goal here. So your coloring can really like be, it's not just color, it's adding depth and a feeling of shape to your work. And your shading is really integral to that part of making your artwork just a little bit more lively, a little bit more interesting to look at. And, you know, like I was saying, the most basic of shading is what we're doing here. It's literally just dropping some gray in a couple spots. But it already looks much, much better than it did before. Alright, let's take a little break. We're going to pause it here. Try to come back pretty soon. I'm just going to grab some lunch. And then we're gonna hopefully finish this page up and start our next one. But thank you guys for joining. Thanks for being part of the stream. And hope you enjoyed, hope you learned some valuable information. And yeah, we will be back soon.